Hello, everybody. So I've been using Starlink internet for about 6 weeks now, and since I put out my last video, I've gotten lots and lots of questions. So um, let me answer some of them now. So far, so good. Starlink has been very, very good. Starlink has not been disappointing at all. Before I got Starlink, I was using fiber optics and MTN 5G was a backup to the fiber optic internet connection. Basically, the fiber optic internet connection usually had some issues, issues associated with fiber optics. You could be online now, and the next second it's offline, and you call them, they'll say, "Oh, sorry, somebody was digging the road and cut their cable." So before you know it, you won't have internet again, maybe to the following day. So MTN in that case was a backup. But since I started using Starlink, there has been no outage. I've been using Starlink for about 6 weeks now, and there has been no major outage. Of course, there are sometimes, apart from about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got a prompt to update my firmware, on the app. So I just clicked on update. So I updated it, and the device just refused to boot up again. It just got stuck in the booting process for hours. Yeah, so I decided to um, do a factory reset. So when I did a factory reset, everything got back to normal. But apart from that day, I have not had any outages at all when it comes to Starlink. So in that regard, Starlink is far, far, far more reliable than what we have in terms of fiber optics or other internet connection. In terms of reliability and uptime, nobody comes close, to Starlink as a result of that. Then of course the speed, wow, the speed, with my fiber internet, when multiple users in the house are, online, we have, about 5 smart TVs in different parts of the house. So let's say you have multiple users trying to stream on those smart TVs. You have apps like YouTube, DSTV Now, Showmax, Netflix, and Amazon Prime Video. So if users are, on like three smart TVs at a time trying to stream 4K, when I was using my what's it called? When I was using the fiber optics, you would start noticing slowdown of the speed, the resolutions of the videos will start, scaling backwards because of slower speeds. But with Starlink, there has never been anything like slowdowns. Even if all the five smart TVs are streaming, people are on their phones, the kids are on their tablets, everybody is using internet without any limits. It just never slows down. So maybe it's like that because it's still new, but Starlink is amazing. When compared to what I was using before I got Starlink. Another reason why I got Starlink is that in some parts of this you know I'm currently living on the Lekki Epe Expressway. On some parts of the Lekki Expressway, so when you start going further to like places like Awoyaya, in the Lekki and the rest of that, you don't have internet service anymore in those parts. You only have GSM data. So I wanted a situation where whenever I am in those areas as well, I'll be able to have good access, to the internet. And in that regard, Starlink has not disappointed me. You see, when I was trying to sign up for Starlink, when I was trying to put my location was not available. My estate where I live in, was not available on the Starlink map. So as a result of that, I just chose Lekki Epe Expressway as my as my location. And as it turns out, it was a very, it was a very fortunate move because now my dish can work anywhere from Ikoyi to almost Ekpe without having to pay any extra cost. But if I want to take my dish to like the mainland or wherever, I need to order for portability. You can see this feature here. It's called portability. So once I order for portability, it costs just $11 monthly. It costs just $11 monthly. Once I order for portability, I can take my dish to the mainland. I can take my dish even to other states, and use it. So Starlink has been, we've never had anything like this, in the history of Nigeria before. It's amazing. But recently, Starlink changed their base currency to naira. They changed their base currency to the naira, so it got a lot of people excited. But as it turns out, they don't have any Nigerian payment gateway. So even though the currency is the naira, they are still using gateways that bill using the US dollar. So you just convert your naira rates into USD and bill you. So maybe in the future when they start using Nigerian payment gateways like Paystack, Flutterwave, into Switch, maybe Nigerians will be able to get a better deal since they are now charging people in naira. Hopefully, that time will come. But for now, all the feedbacks I've gotten, my friend tried to pay with his naira card, it didn't go through. He had to use a dollar card to pay for his order. Everyone I know basically saying the naira thing doesn't work for Nigerian issued naira cards. So and another positive aspect about Starlink is that this their indoor device, that also acts has the function of a router. I have noticed that it is better than most other routers, that you have in the market. For instance, now with my former internet connection, I had to use Wi-Fi repeaters to get good receptions in other parts of the house. If you go downstairs, the reception will be weak. If you go to the kitchen, the reception will be weak. But with this, I noticed that with this Starlink router, there is strong reception everywhere in the house. You don't need to get a Wi-Fi repeater. So I have it. So I can only conclude that this Starlink router is better than most mid-range routers we have in the market. Maybe some high-end routers are better, but the Starlink router is amazing. Then how does it perform in terms of rain? Wow, rain, rain, rain. In the rain, we've only had like I think 2 rainpours in this area this year so far, and during both rain events, the connections were 100% perfect. So I don't know if it's just and even when we had very thick clouds, the connection has always remained good. But we don't know what it will be like when we actually get into the heart of rainy season. But for now, the little rains we've had did not disrupt Starlink service at all. Some people have been asking, a lot of people have been asking, how is the latency? I want to use it for gaming, so and so. You see, if you look at this is a latency tool, I think from Amazon. You can see I've done a latency test here, and you can see that for the US, Oregon, it's about 193 milliseconds. For Virginia, it's about 160 milliseconds. For Sao Paulo, 240 milliseconds. For Frankfurt, 123 milliseconds. For Ireland, 158 milliseconds. For London, 117 milliseconds. For Tokyo, 282 milliseconds. And so on and so forth. For Canada, 166 milliseconds. So in terms of milliseconds, in terms of latency, it's okay. It's not the best, obviously, but it's okay. Though sometimes you might have some latency deviations, but all in all, in terms of latency for also, it has been okay. Maybe some people can try and test it with other in other environments and see how it would work out for them. So far, Starlink has been excellent. Starlink has been wonderful. Another good part I enjoy about Starlink is that they have a meter. They have a usage meter where they tell you that they tell you your usage. But the good part about Starlink is that they don't capture your usage between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Your usage is not captured. So even if Starlink is going to introduce some kind of fair use policy in the future, Like many people are already saying that they will soon introduce fair use policy because they're already getting congestion in some places. So even if they don't introduce it, there are lots of ways people can still enjoy the service, without hitting that limit. Look at, if you decide, okay, most of your heavy downloads, your PS5 games, your Xbox games, if you just schedule those kind of heavy downloads for the off-peak period between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., you won't have any problem because it doesn't capture that in terms of uh, when it comes to your cumulative usage. It doesn't capture your off-peak period, so that's a good part of it. So for now, Starlink is unlimited. So I've been getting some questions. Can I use Starlink in a hotel? Can I use Starlink in a school? Can I use Starlink in a block of flats? Of course you can, but the issue is that we don't know if that will be a good long-term strategy, because for now it's unlimited. You can use it anywhere, it will work. You can use it anywhere, it will work. If you use it in a school, if you use it with, any kind of environment, it will work. But we don't know if that's a good long-term strategy because anytime they can wake up and say, we are now introducing fair use policy. So, of course, if you use it in any kind of environment, Starlink will serve you well now. But when they eventually, now they are shipping, they've resumed full shipping to Nigerians now. So when you start having 100,000 Nigerian users, 200,000 Nigerian users, what would their service be like? Would they still say just using it, in an unlimited way, or would they start introducing some kind of fair use policy then? That's what we don't know. So, of course, it can work for those things, but in the long term, it might not be the best, idea for such, setups. Then people have been asking. Let me try and see if I can answer any other question. People have been asking, what do you use Starlink for? Is it for personal or for is it for personal use or is it for business? Well, my wife and I do a lot of online work from home. Our kids also do a lot of school work online. So let's just say it's a mixture of both of them. It's a mixture of both, business and pleasure. Then another question is that somebody is saying, how can I use Starlink in the village? Of course, so far, Starlink is all over the skies of Nigeria. It's a satellite system. It's an array of low Earth orbiting satellites. So when once Starlink says we are in your country, they are everywhere. Just mount your dish, but it's always good to confirm by going to their website and typing your location. Once you go to their website and type your location, if you are in one town in Ibadan, just type the street name or wherever, and Starlink would advise that, okay, yes, you can go ahead and order. So it's basically you have to check their website to be sure before you decide to use Starlink. Basically, before you decide to go forward and make the investment, with Starlink. Then what about outages? I was talking about this, I think during my last video, I was talking about this outages that last about 80, 90 seconds. How about those outages? Well, they've reduced in frequency. Then those outages should come like once every 90 minutes. But I'll say now maybe they come once every maybe 4 5 hours. So it's really in that regard, it's really really getting better. Then what's the peak usage that we've used it for? Well, there was a time we had guests, so we had almost 20 devices connected to the Starlink router. We had almost 20 devices. Some people were streaming, some people were making downloads, some people were watching, streaming on smart TV, and yet there was just no slowdown. It wasn't like, some people need to stop so that we can continue doing this, or but in terms of peak performance, Starlink has been excellently excellent. So for now, I have been using Starlink full time now. Full time. I've stopped paying my fiber optic subscription. I've been using Starlink full time, And I can tell you authoritatively that in as far as Nigeria is concerned, Starlink is the most reliable internet service provider in terms of uptime. It is the most reliable, as in you can go weeks without any, interruption, any major outages. Of course, apart from those, few second outages you have, but you can go weeks. So right now, my MTN 5G has been a bit dormant, because the main internet connection has been fine. So I've not been using the backup because the main internet connection, Starlink, has been beautiful. I've been using Starlink full time now, and it's very hard to find the disadvantage of Starlink. You know, what I did was that I called a DSTV installer to place Starlink on my roof. So since I put Starlink on my roof, I have less obstructions, and you know, of course, it's also safer on your roof when it's on the ground. Children can be running, children can be running around. When you put your Starlink dish, in an area that is not secure, anything can happen. It can get damaged or whatever. So I called the DSTV installer to mount it on my roof. So since I mounted it on my roof, I've not had any issues. It has been perfect. It has been perfect. So right now, it's just very hard for me to say, okay, this is the problem. This is the problem of Starlink, and why But for people who live abroad, of course, Starlink. If you live in top developed cities, of course, you don't take Starlink as your number one option. But from a Nigerian perspective, from a Nigerian perspective, Starlink is simply, the best thing that one can hope for in terms of internet connection. The only area Starlink is a bit okay. The only area I would say Starlink is a bit deficient is their upload speed. Starlink's upload speed is, usually peaks at around 25, 30 Mbps, while their download speed goes as high as 250, 270 Mbps. So that's the only aspect I'll say they're a bit deficient. Their upload speeds are not anywhere near their download speed. So your uploads, if you're uploading large files, it could be a bit long. It could take a bit longer. But apart from that, I can't really complain about Starlink. So I hope this has answered the question that many people have been asking, the questions that many people have been asking. But so far, so good. For now, yes, Starlink is unlimited, but I wouldn't advise you to make long-term plans based on that unlimited Starlink, because at any time they could always decide to bring in a fair use policy. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much.